huge matchups. Alabama facing Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Crimson Tide has won 4 of the last 5 meetings, but Auburn did win the last time they played this game at Jordan-Hare. That was just 2 years ago. Wisconsin takes on Minnesota in a top 15 matchup on ABC. Sneaky, huge game. Winner winds up winning the Big Ten West and would face Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. And obviously, number 1 Ohio State on the road facing Michigan in the game. They've dominated this series of late, but the way it's been trending, it could be a very interesting day, and Ohio State probably needs a win to lock up a shot in the college football playoff. So I have 2 quick questions for you here, and we'll have more time later. Does Alabama need to not only beat Auburn, but beat them soundly tomorrow to impress the playoff?
Alabama has to crush Auburn. And if they crush Auburn, Greeny, I think that they most realistically control their own destiny. Hear me out now. Georgia has to beat LSU, and that's a tall feat. Minnesota has to do some crazy things to make it in. But if Alabama crushes Auburn and handles business, I think the committee is going to look and say they're littered with first-round picks. Yes, they have a new quarterback in Mac Jones, but this guy's a big-time recruit, a big-time player. If they crush Auburn, I do think they can be in there.
And that is no easy feat, even with Tua Tagovailoa, to go in there and beat that really good defense. Not easy. Quickly, have I convinced you? I've been working on you all week long that Michigan is going to beat Ohio State tomorrow.
Absolutely not. I'm sorry, Greeny. There's no chance. Shea Patterson, I give you my respect. He's gotten a lot better as of late. He's thrown the ball phenomenally. Ohio State, Chase Young, Justin Fields, Ryan Day has them playing out of this world. It's all over.
Look, we got a 4-hour show to squeeze into a 2-hour bag. We're doing the best we can. We're jam-packed. Stay with us all morning long. Still to come here on Get Up. What happened in the Cowboys locker room did not stay in the Cowboys locker room. Will the fireworks rally them, or is it the beginning of the end? We'll talk about it. And Odell Beckham sparked a lot of controversy with this celebration. Yesterday, it cost a team a game. You're not going to believe it when you see it.
Louis,
they need to step up.
The players in which they have paid aren't the ones that are really producing. Because I hear you, yes, force feed Zeke to a degree, and I saw the Cowboys didn't run Zeke after the 9:28 mark in the third quarter, Greeny. They did not give Zeke a handoff after the 9:28 mark in the third quarter. But then I looked into it a little further and I rewatched the game. It's skewed. It was 16-7 at the time, but then they go to 3rd and long, and then it's 23-7. Now the game's out of control. I think Zeke, for what they've given him, he hasn't been doing it, so Dak has to feel the pressure.
Let's go to another thing that is directly coaching, and that is at 23-7, you go for it on the 4th down in this situation where the week before you had gotten soundly criticized for kicking a field goal. Yesterday, now the way the game plays out, and it's always easy to look back at it, kicking the field goal, it's easy to say after you don't convert. Sure. Kicking the field goal might have made a difference in the way the game ended, but did it feel like maybe some of the criticism that he heard influenced that decision?
He's coaching in a reactionary manner. There's no doubt about that. And he seems as though, well, look, this is what people are criticizing me for. This may ultimately cost my job. So I need to show that, you know what, I have a lot of confidence in my team, and I'm going to go for, well, okay, that's fine.
It's the wrong call.
Exactly. And if you are going to go ahead and go for it in situations like this, look, coaches all the time, they meet all week long. You always hear them talking about they sleep at the facility and they're constantly pouring over film and stuff. Dial up your best stuff for your best players. They don't dial up their best stuff for their best players. A lot of this stuff is very, very mundane and routine and looks like day one install stuff. There's a lot of tape out there to show you how to pop loose some of your best playmakers, and they're not having it. They don't have a whole lot of it.
You don't have a call, though. Here's what killed me, Greeny, about this whole situation. It's 4th and goal from the 6. At the point in which you get inside the 20, the football field is wider than it is long. You know how hard it is to convert on 4th and goal from the 6? As a defender, I played linebacker. I'm sitting there, I'm like, y'all don't have a call for this. Even if you run a man beater, y'all aren't getting in the end zone on 4th and goal from the 6.
A week ago, we were killing them for not going for it on 4th and 7. And
but now I'll tell you what, I'm going to disagree with you on that. And I'll say this. There are calls to beat you on 4th and goal from the 6. I'll tell you, you know this. When it's 4th and goal from the 6, you're going to have to man up. And you better put a defense in conflict as far as knowing what they're supposed to do. When Dallas comes out and lines up, a lot of their stuff is very static. Yep. It's where we line up is where we're going to end up. And therefore, for me, you take a lot of the stress off of me because now I don't need to think. Watch Baltimore. Watch how Baltimore runs their offense. There's a lot of static going on, and they jam you up mentally. That's what I'm talking about. Coaching is costing this team, especially from an offensive standpoint.
And I want to go back very quickly to something that we were talking about a minute ago, because if Jason Garrett was reacting to criticism, he wasn't just being criticized on shows like this one and by fans. He was being criticized by his boss. Jerry Jones has publicly criticized his coach twice in the last 3 weeks.
So, yes, there's plenty of evidence to support the theory that Jason Garrett's feeling the heat and it's affecting the way he's making decisions in the game. It was not a second guess. As you're watching that game, you're thinking, actually, with the time left on the clock, a field goal's the right call here. And they didn't do it. And obviously, if they convert it, it looks different. But look, they got 4 games to go. They're 6-6. They can't do anything about the first 12 now. I remember a Giants team in 2011. It was 7-7.
Yeah.
And beat the Jets on Christmas Eve and went on to win the Super Bowl. Now, coach and quarterback that had already won a Super Bowl knew how to do it a little bit different. But it seems like the frame of mind in Dallas after last night is, all right, this has been terrible. Let's figure out what we can do from this point forward.
We will be all over this game so much of this morning. And just to give you a little indication of some of the reaction that came yesterday, let's all just enjoy together a little Thanksgiving edition of Stephen A. Smith.
I was tired. I was sleepy. But not anymore. Hey, y'all. How about them Cowboys?
Stephen A. Smith is going to join us live a little bit later this morning. We will have much more on this, and we will give the Bills their due because that's a good team yesterday, and no one is paying them any attention. But right now, in case you didn't stay up late last night, if the tryptophan kicked in, you missed Drew Brees and the Saints looking to clinch the South with a win over the Falcons. And here we go. Taysom Hill was the big story early as he breaks through early and blocks the punt.
Look, this is a guy who right now, when you listen to him talk, this is a guy who loves being coached by his coaches. This is a guy who buys in totally to whatever they want him to do, and they have him do everything as you see.
Yep, because he blocks the punt, and
then he catches a little touchdown pass, and then runs over some people on the way in. He is we talk about Swiss Army knives. This guy is the ultimate Swiss Army knife. He would be fun to coach.
And then here he is back again in a 10-6 game with Drew Brees on the sideline. Taysom Hill, he's gone 30 yards for the
That's
score.
a tremendous play design. That's why I say Sean Payton, once he gets into the playoffs, is very, very dangerous because he can outthink you as well as anybody.
And meantime, their defense was great. Matt Ryan was sacked 9 times and then had this happen. Watch this.
That's Cam Jordan. That's rude.
That's a tryptophan.
It's actually Shy Tuttle who picks it and stiff arms Matt Ryan like a I don't even know what to describe it as. One way or another, the Saints would not score on that possession, but the damage was certainly inflicted. Now the Falcons are down 26-15. Now this was the crazy part of the game. Under 4 minutes to go, they convert on the onside kick, which no one does anymore. Then a really good move right out of the 2-minute drill. On the first down, they kick the field goal to get them back into a 1-score game. Then they go for another onside kick. There's no way in the world they get 2 in a row. Hold on.
Sure there is. They get it again. And then they got 3. When they did it again. And look, Sean Payton right now, I'll tell you, the special teams coach of the New Orleans Saints, today is not going to be your day. It's going to be an ugly meeting this morning.
It actually gave Atlanta a chance, but Cam Jordan would close the door. His 4th sack of the game ends it on a 4th down. Saints come away with a win, 26-18. And so here's a New Orleans team that, but for some very bad breaks and very bad calls, we might be thinking of very differently. They've been a great team now. This is their 3rd consecutive year, but we're so impressed with San Francisco right now. What do we make of these New Orleans Saints who win the division last night?
Look, I think they have a lot of the components that travel late in the season, playoff runs, in the postseason, obviously. They've always been there. They've always been a team that's been right there, and except for some of the bad breaks, maybe they are Super Bowl representatives and maybe they are Super Bowl champions. The only thing that scares me about this football team is that offensively for years now, for let's just say the past 2 years, they have tried to go ahead and supplement Michael Thomas with someone else on the perimeter to help him out. Because when you have one guy accounting for 40% of your offensive production, that's a lot. In one game, look, if you want to commit enough assets to shut down one guy in the NFL, you can shut down one. You can't shut down 2. You can't, and you definitely can't shut down when you have multiple. This is what scares me because they're so Michael Thomas reliant. What happens when the team finally says, you're not catching 10 for 150 on us.
Yeah.
We'll put 3 on you if we have to. What happens to him then?
What did please me, though, is at least they tried to get Kamara more involved than I have seen as of late. I think he had, 11 touches on the ground alone, and then he had some more through the air. But Lewis is right. If Michael Thomas doesn't go off, can the Saints still win it? And they proved that yesterday. And what everybody's sleeping on, because we've known about Drew Brees for so long, that defense is legit. We saw that yesterday.
They will play San Francisco in 2 weeks. The 49ers stretch is unbelievable. They just played Green Bay. Now they have Baltimore. And then they get them. I can't believe I'm asking you this question, Dan Graziano, but with Atlanta looking like it's been a disappointing season and probably making all kinds of changes, Could one of those changes be at quarterback next year? Is it unrealistic to think?
Financially, it's probably unrealistic because he's guaranteed, Matt Ryan, is $20.5 million next year. So it would be hard to find someone to take on his contract. But if you are the Falcons, everything's got to be on the table. They're so leveraged in so many of their contracts. They're paying top 3 highest paid players at wide receiver, tackle, defensive tackle, inside linebacker. I mean, they're weighed down with some heavy contracts. So I would doubt it. But I don't think you can 100% say, no, Atlanta's not thinking about the future.
Crazy as it sounds, it feels to me like that is a story to watch as we work our way into the NFL offseason. Much more football, pro football as the morning goes on. But it is also an enormous college day tomorrow. And